The House will come to order. Messages from the Senate.
Message from the Senate, Madam Speaker. I hereby announce that the Senate has concurred in and adopted the report of the Conference Committee on Senate File Number 1384. Senate has repassed said bill in accordance with the recommendation report of the Conference Committee. The message is signed Thomas S. Bodden, Secretary of the Senate. Conference Committee report on Senate File Number 1384, an act relating to state government modifying labor provisions. The report is addressed to the Honorable Bobby Joe Champion, President of the Senate, the Honorable Melissa Hortman, Speaker of the House. We, the undersigned conferees for Senate File Number 1384, report that we've agreed upon the items in dispute and recommend as follows. The report is signed by 3 of the 3 members on the part of the Senate and 3 of the 3 members on the part of the House. Feist moves that the report of the Conference Committee on Senate File Number 1384 be adopted and that the bill be repassed as amended by the Conference Committee.
I recognize the author, the member from Ramsey, Representative Feist, to explain the motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House File 1384 is what used to be the Keeping Nurses at the Bedside Act, now called the Nurse and Patient Safety Act. This is not what we came here to do, but this is still a meaningful step forward for nurses that they deserve. The new compromise version of this bill will do a number of things that I would like to describe. It is a nation-leading hospital workplace violence prevention strategy. It is more comprehensive than any other hospital safety legislation in the nation, and will ensure that worker voices are heard and that hospitals are required to have a plan that is reported to the Commissioner of the Department of Health, who then will provide a report to the legislature so that we can understand workplace violence trends in hospitals. This is an incredibly important and urgent issue. A constituent of mine who was a nurse of 30 years retired early because she told me that in her hospital unit, staff were getting assaulted on average twice a week. So this is incredibly important, and I have heard from many nurses, including my own constituents, about why we need to take this step. So I'm very happy to be advancing that aspect of this bill. In addition, the compromise language includes our loan forgiveness provisions to encourage and support people who move into the nursing profession. Also, it provides childcare assistance for nursing assistants who have decided to take the next step in their career and study towards becoming a licensed practical nurse or a registered nurse. In addition, it will include funding for a workplace study by the Department of Health so that we can understand trends around nurses and why we are seeing nurses leave the bedside in record numbers. Last year, 2,400 registered nurses left the bedside, and we need to listen to them, and we need to understand why this is happening, and we need to act as a state. It is unfortunate that we couldn't pass the entire bill. Nurses have been coming to the legislature for 15 years, telling us what they need, and just on a comment about process in this body, this bill, the underlying bill, before we entered into this compromise was already a really great compromise bill. It was really well developed. It was negotiated heavily. I spoke with stakeholders. I spoke with associations. I spoke with individual hospitals. I spoke with chief nurse officers and CEOs across the state of Minnesota. It was a really, really good bill. And I don't understand why a bill like that can't pass into law in the state of Minnesota. And I find that really unfortunate. So we need to listen to nurses when they come to us and they tell us what they need. I know I will continue to do that. I know my colleagues will continue to do that. This is an important step forward for nurses, but it is not enough. And I know that I am committed to doing more. And I'm very proud of myself because I did not cry during this speech. Because, this is a step forward. It's the first step forward. We have more to do. And that is the Conference Committee report.
All those in favor of the motion to concur, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The clerk will give the bill its third reading as amended by conference.
Third reading, Senate File Number 1384, as amended by conference.
Third reading. as amended by conference. Discussion to the bill. The member from Chisago, Representative New Brindley.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. What we have before us is frankly pretty benign, and I appreciate that, Representative Feist. This started out as a bill that, particularly for our rural hospitals where we struggle, it was going to kill our healthcare systems in our more rural hospitals. The nursing staffing ratios were just not tenable. They would not work, particularly for our rural hospitals. I was talking to I call them my stepkids are my bonus kids, and one of my bonus kids was here this week, and he said, you know, it really is a problem. We got to fix this. This is a good thing, this Keep the Nurses at the Bedside Act. And I said, you know, I totally understand what you're saying. The problem is not, though, that we don't want more nurses. There's 5,000 open positions for nurses across the state right now. We want more staff. We want more nurses. The problem is they don't exist. They don't exist. And so particularly for our rural communities where, you know, we don't have pools that are easy to draw from, it means that we would have to turn people away. We would have to turn patients away. So what we've got before us is much better. It is not perfect. There are still a lot of mandates in this bill that are going to increase the cost of health care. There are mandates in this bill that are going to cost hospitals money. There are pretty egregious fines in the bill. Now, I'm not so worried about the fines because certainly the hospitals will comply. In fact, the hospitals agree we've got a violence problem that needs to be figured out. And so from the conversations I've had, that's actually a good provision. But I'm still concerned about the mandates. And you know, as I just said on the last bill, these mandates amount to a hidden tax because they create costs. And this is directly a cost on health care, which continues to be problematic. So while this bill got a lot better, we took what was a completely untenable bill, particularly for rural hospitals, and we've made it something pretty benign, but there will still be costs associated with this bill. So just make sure that you are aware of that as you are casting your vote tonight. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Any further discussion on the bill? Representative Feist.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. There are, as of the last report by the Board of Nursing, 130,000 registered nurses in the state of Minnesota. That is more than ever before. Last year, 8,000 additional registered nurses were licensed in the state of Minnesota. There are a lot of nurses. They just don't want to work at the bedside. I've received so many emails from nurses who have said they either left the bedside and would come back, or, who said they left. I've had a lot of nurses who have retired early who have emailed me who have said they have decided to leave the bedside and work in a clinic, but they would come back if we provided more protections. So many nurses have come to me talking about unsafe staffing, and these are nurses with Minnesota Nurses Association and
Members,
not.
please take your conversations off of the House floor.
And I will just point out
Representative Feist.
that the Minnesota Hospital Association and Mayo Clinic provided statements of support for this legislation. So I do agree that means it's fairly benign, but I think everyone agrees that this is an important step forward for hospitals and nurses, and I would urge members to support this bill.
The member from Stearns, Representative Demuth.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I am very pleased with how this language has come forward. We knew, and we were hearing from hospitals all the way across Minnesota that were concerned with the Keeping the Nurses at the Bedside Act and what that would actually do to the hospitals. Everyone recognizes the important role that our nurses have played all the way, but especially during the time of COVID. And to see the bill that has come forward that is providing an extra level of violence prevention, and loan forgiveness to attract people to this field and to be able to work. But members, when there is a carve-out for one of the world-renowned hospital systems within the state of Minnesota, because they did not feel that it would be workable and affordable and something they could work under, I have to think that 142 hospitals across the state that were smaller and less able to maybe comply with it would have very much struggled. And out in greater Minnesota, when a patient is diverted from one of our small critical access hospitals, it's not just down the road or a few blocks. It is miles and counties, and we will lose patients. We would have lost patients because of it. I am very pleased with the language. It is not perfect, but very, very pleased with how we landed. And members, I would encourage a green vote.
The clerk will take the roll on the bill. The clerk will close the roll. There being 112 ayes and 17 nays, the bill is passed as amended by conference and its title agreed to. Messages from the Senate.
Message from the Senate. Madam Speaker, I hereby announce the passage by the Senate of the following House file, herewith returned as amended by the Senate, in which amendments to concurrence of the House is respectfully requested. House File Number 447, an act relating to civil law. The message is signed Thomas S. Bodern, Secretary of the Senate. Becker-Finn moves that the House concur in the Senate amendments to House File Number 447 and that the bill be repassed as amended by the Senate.
I recognize the member from Ramsey, Representative Becker-Finn.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, this is the Technical Corrections Bill 2.0. I'm basically padding my stats at this point. All of the provisions have been quadruply approved. Thank you.
Any discussion on the Senate amendments? The member from Anoka, Representative Scott.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Vote green on the corrections piece.
All those in favor of the motion to concur, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The clerk will give the bill its third reading as amended by the Senate.
Third reading, House File Number 447, as amended by the Senate.
Third reading. Any discussion? Seeing none, the clerk will take the roll on the bill. Members, please vote. The clerk will close the roll. There being 132 ayes and 0 nays, the bill is passed as amended by the Senate and its title agreed to. Reports of standing committees and divisions. Members, we are taking up reports related to appointments to the Campaign Finance and Public Disclosure Board. A copy of this order of business is on your desk and online.
Freiberg from the Committee on Elections, Finance, and Policy, to which was referred, Campaign Finance and Public Disclosure Board, Carol Flynn, reported the same back with a recommendation that the appointment be confirmed. Freiberg moves that the report of the Committee on Elections, Finance, and Policy relating to the appointment of Carol Flynn to the Campaign Finance and Public Disclosure Board be now adopted.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Freiberg.
Thank you, Speaker. Members, before us are the appointments of Carol Flynn and Faris Rashid to the Campaign Finance Board. We had a robust discussion in the Elections Committee on May 2nd. Lead Torkelson had several questions related to express advocacy. So the first motion here is for Carol Flynn. One of these positions is required to be held by a former DFL legislator. Carol Flynn is a former state senator and holds that position. She served as a senator for 10 years and was majority whip and chaired the Judiciary and Transportation Committees. I would encourage members to support her renomination, and happy to stand for questions.
No. All those in favor of the report?
All those in favor of the reports, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails.
Confirmation. Freiberg moves that the House, having advised, do now consent to and confirm the appointment of Carol Flynn, 1235 Yale Place, Minneapolis, in the County of Hennepin, effective March 22nd, 2023, for a term that expires on January 4th, 2027.
Representative Freiberg.
Being the only thing holding us back from adjournment, members, please vote green.
All those in favor of the confirmation, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails.
Freiberg from the Committee on Elections, Finance, and Policy, to which was referred, Campaign Finance Public Disclosure Board, Faris Rashid, reported the same back with a recommendation that the appointment be confirmed. Freiberg moves that the report of the Committee on Elections, Finance, and Policy relating to the appointment of Faris Rashid to the Campaign Finance Public Disclosure Board be now adopted.
Representative Freiberg.
Thank you, Speaker. This position is reserved for somebody who has not been elected to partisan political office, and Faris Rashid would hold that position as he currently does. He is a lawyer focusing on technology, intellectual property, and trade secret disputes. I would encourage members to support his confirmation.
All those in favor of the confirmation, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails and the confirmation has been made.
Confirmation. Freiberg moves that the House, having advised, do now consent to it, confirm the appointment of Faris Rashid, 6900 Crest Road, Edina, Minnesota, in the County of Hennepin, effective March 22nd, 2023, for a term that expires on January 4th, 2027.
Representative Freiberg.
Please yell aye really loudly.
All those in favor of the confirmation, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. Motions and resolutions. There are copies of the non-controversial motions at the House desk and online. If there is no objection, we will take action on these motions first. Hearing no objection, the motions prevail. Representative Long.
Madam Speaker, I have an announcement.
Please state your announcement.
The announcement is that we have worked very hard together over the course of this session, and that none of that work would have been possible without the tireless efforts of the staff who make this body function every single day. They worked so hard on behalf of our state and all of us. They do everything that they can to make our jobs possible, and they do so with a smile and achieve incredible results for all of us. So I'm not going to be able to name everybody, but I want to thank in particular our front desk staff, Patrick Murphy, Timothy Johnson, Stephanie Miller, Nashari Ovillo, Marilee Davis, Kathy Carlson, and all the chief clerk's staff, as well as the Sergeant-at-Arms, Lori Hodap, and her staff, all of our partisan and nonpartisan staff, our researchers, fiscal analysts, committee administrators, media, constituent services, LAs, our House Public Information Services, and all our other staff, and our pages as well for being here. Please join me in thanking our amazing team.
Announcements. Any further announcements? Representative Long.
Madam Speaker, I move that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until Monday, February 12th, 2024 at 12 p.m. noon.
Representative Long moves that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 12 noon, Monday, February 12th, 2024. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. Representative Long.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
Representative Long moves that the House do now adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The House stands adjourned until 12 noon, Monday, February 12th, 2024.